tell ourselves it is justified. The anger, the sharp words, the door we slammed, and maybe it was justified. But later, in the quiet, we look at what we broke, and we know it was not worth it. Centuries ago, in a mountain forge in northern Japan, a blacksmith named Riku learned this the hard way. Riku was the finest swordmaker in his province. People travelled weeks to commission his blades. He had the hands for it, patient, precise, and he had the eye. But he also had a temper. When an apprentice made an error, Riku did not correct him calmly. He corrected him loudly, in front of everyone. When a merchant questioned his price, Riku took it as an insult. One afternoon, a young apprentice rushed a folding step and introduced a flaw, a tiny crack near the base of a blade Riku had spent 3 days on. Riku felt the heat rise before he had even processed the thought. He grabbed the blade, held it up so every man in the forge could see the mistake, and then he drove it into the stone floor. The blade, his best work in months, snapped clean in two. The forge went silent. The apprentices did not look up. Riku walked outside into the cold mountain air. He sat on a rock and stared at his hands. The rage had lasted maybe 10 seconds. The blade was gone forever. That evening, an old man named Masa, a retired smith who sometimes visited the forge, found Riku still sitting there in the dark. Masa sat beside him without speaking for a long time. Then he held out a smooth river stone. "Do you know," he said, "what makes iron brittle?" Riku knew the answer from his work. Heat it too fast, cool it too fast, and the metal becomes hard but fragile. One blow and it shatters. Masa nodded slowly. That is what we do to ourselves when we rush through fire. There is a word in Zen for what Riku was doing in those moments of anger. Bonno. It simply means the fires of the mind, the passions and reactions that flare up and cloud our thinking. A Zen master named Bankei, who lived in 17th century Japan, taught that these fires are not evil. They are not something to be ashamed of. But they are not us either. Bankei called our natural state the unborn mind, the quiet before the fire catches. Zhuangzi, the ancient Chinese philosopher, said something similar from a different direction. He observed that when an archer shoots with nothing at stake, his skill is clear. But when he shoots for a gold prize, his hands begin to tremble. The mind, Zhuangzi wrote, gets seized by what it fears to lose. Anger works the same way. It flares when we feel something precious, our pride, our control, our sense of how things should be is being taken. Riku's anger was not really about the cracked blade. It was about the fear that his reputation could be damaged, that he was losing control of his forge, that the work he had poured himself into might not be safe in other hands. The anger was protecting something. But it destroyed the very thing it meant to protect. The Hagakure, a book of samurai wisdom, puts it plainly. There is something to be learned from a rainstorm. When meeting with a sudden shower, you try not to get wet and run quickly along the road. But getting wet cannot be avoided when it rains on all sides. Resistance to what is already happening only costs us more. The practical lesson from all of this is something we can use tomorrow. Not a technique for suppressing anger. That just drives the heat deeper into the metal and makes it more brittle. Instead, try this. When you feel the fire rising, name what is actually at stake. Not the surface thing, not the cracked blade, not the traffic, not the comment someone made. The thing underneath. What are you afraid of losing? Bankei's teaching on the unborn mind is simply this. You were calm before the trigger appeared. That calm is still there. It did not leave. You only moved away from it. Riku went back into the forge the next morning. He found his apprentice and asked him quietly to show him where in the process he had rushed. They stood together at the anvil and worked through it step by step. The blade that came from that lesson was the finest Riku ever made. He kept it, never sold it. He said it reminded him not of his anger, but of what existed on the other side of it. We do not become less human by feeling the fire. We become more skilled by learning not to forge our worst decisions in it.